Hello, today I'm going to look at World of Warcraft, the board game, by Fantasy Flight Games, and it's licensed from Blizzard Entertainment based on the multiplayer online game from 2004, a board game by Christian T. Peterson. And as always, subscriptions are appreciated, so I developed my library here. So if you want to take some time to subscribe and get notified, I really appreciate it. It's a pretty rare game. It's hard to find out there for a reasonable price. I was lucky to get a copy for a reasonable price that's in good shape. It's a big game. It's basically twice the size of standard modern bookshelf games. So it's a game that's got a lot of components in it. Artwork is great. Fantasy Flight Games always does a good job, in my opinion. Definitely gives you a sense of the fantasy world, and seems to have a good blend of, seriousness, but also kind of the fantasy art too, so I appreciate that. A little bit in the back kind of shows you the play area here, and a bit of the components. More than 1,000 high quality components, and they are high quality. More than 125 plastic figures, 29 individual sculpts. Defeat one of 3 legendary overlords, Nefarian, Lord Kha'Zix, or Kal-Thuzad. All 9 World of Warcraft classes included, no 2 classes play alike. This is an epic game experience based on the best-selling massively multiplayer online role-playing game from Blizzard Entertainment. Take control of a heroic character from either the Horde or the Alliance faction. Seek power and prestige by traveling across the lands to complete dangerous quests. Finally, win dominance for your faction by defeating the mighty Overlord, or wage a final decisive war against the enemy faction. Credits: Game Design, Christian T. Peterson. Additional Game Design, Eric M. Lang, Grid Benaj, Corey Konzika, and John Goodenough. Lead Developer, Christian T. Peterson. Graphic Design, Andrew Navarro, Brian Schomburg, Scott Nicely. Here's a custom storage solution I came up with. I'm happy how it turned out. First of all, the rules and the different play mats are up here, and the map. And then here's the storage solution I came up with. It's just from foam poster board, just at a craft store. I sized it so the small cards fit here, big cards fit here. Got the different colors of miniatures in their compartments and tokens and dice. Turns out there's plenty of room for everything, and actually the box probably could have been smaller, but it's nice that things aren't too tight, so I'm happy how that turned out. And it does come with an insert, but I think it's mainly for just keeping the components under, like the board and stuff, and you can put cards here. But I didn't find this super useful. Here's all the components, and the sheer quantity and also the quality of them is very impressive. You have 29 blue creature miniatures, 29 red creature miniatures, and 62 green creature miniatures, and each of them include a variety of Morlocks, Gnolls, Gulls, Scarlet Crusaders, Nagas, Giant Spiders, Worgens, Wilgans, Ogres, Wraiths, Doomguards, Drakes, and Infernals. So, we'll talk about those in a little more detail. Then you have 16 character figures. You have 21 total 8-sided dice, 7 each of red, green, and blue. Got the rule book. Got these smaller cards, which are class cards. There's 24 each for each of the 9 distinct classes. There's 120 item cards in here as well. In these larger cards, you have 40 Alliance quest cards, 40 Horde quest cards, and 47 event cards. There's also 5 called the Zod event cards. There's 58 energy tokens, 1s and 3s, 58 health tokens, 1s and 3s, 138 gold tokens, 1s and 3s, 40 hit tokens, 20 armor tokens, Overlord counters, total of 7 of those, point of interest tokens, totally 5 of those, 6 Alliance quest tokens, 6 Horde quest tokens, 8 war tokens, there's 2 of 4 different colors, and 12 action tokens. A turn token, 15 stun tokens, 15 curse tokens, 6 bag tokens, 6 spellbook tokens, and all the tokens are they're thick and well done. There's 63 character tokens, 7 for each of the 9 classes, and they have different values, different characters on each side. Then of course you have the map, you got the rule book, 3 Overlord sheets, two monster reference sheets, 2 one-sided character sheets, and 7 two-sided character sheets. There's 2 factions that have characters in the game, the Alliance and the Horde, and they each have 8 characters. This is the Alliance, and I showed a little ruler here to show scale where this is in centimeters. You have, and considering this is from 2005, the miniatures are very well done, especially for that time. There's, in the Alliance, there's Chalara Witherblade, Elisa Quicksting, Sandra Darkshine, Weefla Starfall, Bourbon Fang, Brendan Lightstone, Artemnus Moondream, and Brabo Big Shot, all shown here. Here's the 8 characters for the Horde faction. Grunbaz, Crow's Blood, Sophia Icecall, Meadowfray, Thundershot, Dungan Swiftblade, Liam, Sagewind, Wenu, Bloodsinger, and Zauka Shattertusk. There's 9 of these character sheets. 2 are one-sided and 7 are two-sided. The reason they're set up that way is there's 9 different classes, and 2 of them are unique to the factions. So the factions are either Horde or Alliance. So a player chooses a class and then chooses a faction. So the classes, unique ones are the Horde has the Shaman class and the Alliance has the Paladin class. On the 2-sided character sheets, they choose a class and a faction. So one side is a Horde and the other is the Alliance. I guess it's set up this way so that in a game no 2 characters can have the same class. The classes that are in both Horde and Alliance are Warlock, Rogue, Mage, Hunter, Druid, Warrior, and Priest. The items on the character sheet are the first character class and name, the energy and health, the gold areas, character race ability, and they each have unique ones, level frames, levels 1, 2, 3 through 5, card areas, talent bars. There's 8 races in the World of Warcraft. There's Dwarf, Gnome, Human, Night Elf, Orc, Tauren, Troll, and Undead. Health. When a health token is removed from the health area and placed. When a character loses health, you take the token off the health area and place it next to the character sheet. When you remove your last health token, your character is defeated. Each character sheet has 7 card areas, and some are pre-printed. For instance, here the wand, mace staff, and cloth are pre-printed, and you can put cards on top of those to replace those later. Talent bars are here for every time a character gains a level. It's allowed to choose one talent card from the class deck. Then you place it below the appropriate talent bar. Rulebook, 40 pages, well illustrated, and it's got a lot of good examples. It's 2 monster reference sheets. One side has, for each of the types of monsters, has their special abilities. For instance, the Murloc can have each reroll step. The active character must lose 1 health for each either red or blue 1 result. And then you have the threat score ability, attack score ability, health score ability for the green, red, and blue monsters. And on the outside of the reference sheet talks about energy cost of instant power, active power, different character actions you can do, rest action, challenge, town action, travel action, training action, summary of creature combat, and player versus player combat. Here's the unique monster miniatures. There's 13 different types, and each of the 13 comes in 3 different colors. The red and green are spawned during quests, and the character must defeat them in order to complete the quest. The blue are independent, that are spawned during quests, but they're not tied directly to completing the quest or obstacles in the quest. And they are kind of brightly colored, but they're colored differently for the reasons of indicated in quests and if they're independent or not. You have the Murlocs, the Ghouls, the Naga, Wraith, Wildkin, Drake, Infernal, Gnoll, Scarlet Crusader, Spider, Worgen, Ogre, Doomguard. There's 21 standard 8-sided dice, 7 each of the different colors. The red represent melee combat ability, blue represent magic and ranged combat ability, and the green represent armor and defensive ability. And these are the Overlord cards. There's 3 different Overlords that one can be chosen from to use in the game. And the factions try to be the first to defeat the Overlord. And the faction that defeats the Overlord first is the winning faction. You have Lord Kazak, Nefarian, Kalthuzad. Each Overlord sheet has 2 sides. One is if 4 characters are used, and the other side is if 6 or more characters are used. And of course, the more characters, the greater the difficulty as far as attack and health levels. Here's all the unique tokens. There's the turn marker. Then you have denominations of 3 and 1 for the gold, the energy, and the health. You have hit tokens and armor tokens. Quest tokens, the Alliance quest token and the Horde quest token. Counters for the 3 Overlords. And Lord Kazak has some additional counters. Then there's war tokens and point of interest tokens. Action tokens. Bag and spellbook tokens. stun and curse tokens, and then character counters. 7 for each of the characters. The smaller cards include item cards. For the 9 different classes, there's 24 class cards. 12 are power, and 12 are talent. This is an example of a talent card for the class, and this is an example for a power card. This is an item card. In this case, the laminated recurve bow. And for the item and power cards, the upper left corner here indicates the types. You have melee, ranged, armor, instant power, active power, general item, bag item, add-on icon. The trait. And then for the items and the class power cards, you have the level requirement, the gold cost, and the energy cost. These are the Horde quest cards with this symbol, and then the Alliance quest cards with this symbol. They come in different levels of difficulty, low difficulty being gray, then there's green, yellow, and red is highest difficulty. It's an example of a card. You have the title of the quest, the spawn area, shows which creatures are immediately spawned on the board after the quest card is drawn. 2 type of creature spawns. There's quest creatures, which are the green and red. Then there's the independent creatures, which are blue. Shows the type, color, number of creatures that spawn. And it shows the reward of the quest if you complete it. Quest level indicator, in this case 1. And this is some flavor text to add to the theme of the quest. There's 52 event cards, 47 are standard event cards, and then there's 5 that are Kel Thuzad event cards, which is shown here. The standard, here's some examples. For instance, Dearest of the Many. Shows what you have to do. In this case, travel to Skullrock O and defeat the Spider Mistress Decorous. Shows threat, attack, and health abilities there. Then the reward if you're the stronger faction, reward if you're the weaker faction. When you draw this event, you have to resolve it. And then there's some bonus events, which has this plus symbol. Basically means you do this event and then you draw. After you've completed this event, you draw another event card. And then for the Kel Thuzad event cards, for instance, Arcane Corruption. If Spread the Plague is in play, all characters within 8 regions of Kel Thuzad lose half their energy, round it up. Otherwise, all characters within 4 regions of Kel Thuzad lose half their energy, round it down. Here's the game board. Obviously it's a big board. It's about 22 inches by about 33 inches. It's got a really nice look to it. It's got, it's got that fantasy look, but it's very functional as well. Definitely has like a kind of medieval kind of feel to it, so I appreciate that. Here's the experience track, going up different levels here. Turn track. Game completes after you complete 30. Key. For your merchant deck over here, region keys. The black lines indicate impassable regions, for instance mountains. This indicates a graveyard. Shows the line's flight path. Horde flight path. Alliance City. Horde City. Bordered by the red lines here, the Tristal Glades. Orange is the Western Plague Lands. Yellow, Eastern Plague Lands. White, Hinterlands. blue Hillsbred, gray Ultric Mountains, green Silver Pine Forest. And this is the combat area where you have damage, attrition, defense. Components look great. Then we'll get to set up and play. So here's setup. I'll be doing 4 characters, 2 for each faction. Then you randomly determine which order players select their character class. So the character classes I'm going with are Warlock, Hunter, Warrior, and Priest. So you'd take the character sheets for those respective classes. You have to choose classes and you choose which faction, whether you want to be Horde or Alliance. And they have to have an equal number each. And if you do 6 characters, 3 on a side instead of 4 characters, 2 on a side, there's just slight variations which I'll talk about. So for the Warlock will be in the Alliance, the Hunter will be in the Alliance, the Warrior will be in the Horde, and the Priest will be in the Horde. And the sheets, you flip it over to the appropriate side then, whether it's Alliance or Horde. And there's a couple classes that can only be in Alliance or Horde, and that's the Paladin can only be in the Alliance, and the Shaman can only be in the Horde. And each character takes a bag token, a spellbook token, and the 7 character tokens representing their class. For each of the characters, then you take one of your tokens and you put it on the starting spot for experience track, and you put 1 character token on the level you're currently at, which is 1. You take the starting amount of health and energy indicated by your level. So for instance, Sundry Darkshine has 2 health and 4 energy. Put those in the appropriate boxes. Everybody gets 5 gold points, which you put in your gold point box. The Alliance characters start in Southshore. The Horde characters start in Brill. So you put your characters there. Then from the item card deck, you draw randomly 3 triangle item cards, 2 square item cards, and 1 circle item card. You put those item cards face up in the merchant deck area. Then you randomly determine which of the 3 overlords you're going to use, and I'll be using Nefarian. And since it's 4 characters, obviously I'll use the 4 character side. Shows combat rules, it's threat, attack, and health. It talks about its setup. And for its victory, when Nefarian reaches the bulwark, the game immediately ends. The stronger faction must immediately enter into combat with Nefarian as a group. If they fail, the weaker faction must must enter into combat against Nefarian. If both factions fail, the game ends in a draw. And other than that case where Nefarian caused the game to immediately end, the game ends at the conclusion of the 30th game turn, which way the players fight a massive battle, player versus player. The faction that wins the player versus player battle is the winner of the game. The faction also wins immediately if it manages to defeat the Overlord before the turn marker enters the end space. When a faction defeats the Overlord, the game ends immediately and the faction is the winner. Put the turn marker on the start space. And then since we're not using the Lord Kazak Overlord, we take out, there are 5 specific event cards for Lord Kazak that we take out of the event deck. Then you shuffle the event deck and set it by the board. And the Alliance and Horde each draw from their quest decks. They each take, for a 4-character game, they take 3 gray cards from the quest deck, and for a 6-character game, they take 4. And these are beginning quests, and you put them so they're visible. For the Alliance, the gray card quests they get are Ghoulish Harvest, Red Ruin, and Dark Alliances. Put them on the side here. The green quest the Alliance gets is City by the Sea. Put them face up. For the Horde, the 3 gray quests they get are Scourge of Ghouls, Howling in Haunted Places, and Legacy of Evil. Put them face up there. Then the green quest they get is Evil Brute. And then you don't use any other of the gray quests, but you put the green quest deck for each of them next to it. You draw the quest cards and you implement them, and so we have 8 total beginning cards for 4 players. For the Alliance, show some examples here. So it shows you the monster and the color of monster. For instance, this would be a green gnoll, and the location. And all the quests involve going to the location shown, killing the quest monster or monsters, and then if you do, you get the reward. And there's some flavor text on here, like, for instance, you enter the commander's tent and he looks up expectantly. Then they're trouble enough, we can't afford to let them develop any new alliances. Gnolls have been sighted near Sorrow Hill, and the Rawhides are proof enough that those savages will throw in with anything. So you have to go to Sorrow Hill and defeat the Gnoll. And quest monsters that are for the Alliance you indicate with the Alliance markers, and for the Horde you indicate with the Horde marker. And ones that are blue are independent monsters, and you don't have to defeat those in order to accomplish the quest. And the rewards, for instance here, if you complete this quest you get 1 gold for experience points, 2 item cards that have a triangle. So this is all the monsters that are deployed for all the Alliance and Horde quests. Then we're all ready to play. The game will go 30 faction turns, unless it ends with a Overlord battle. And the turns have indicators here, like for instance, this means there's an item card, a triangle 1. The ones where the event card is, it means there's an event card drawn, etc. And so there's 30 faction turns, and a faction turn is the Horde and the Alliance take turns. So the Horde would have 15 action turns and the Alliance would have 15 action turns alternating. The Horde goes first, and in an action turn each of the factions characters, in this case there's 2 characters for each of the factions, each of the characters can do 2 actions, and the action choices are a rest action. When taking a rest action, may immediately regain any combination of energy and health tokens equal to twice the level twice his level, or 3 times down. So for instance, if they're level 1, they would get 2 or 3. Challenge action. The character may take a challenge action to enter into combat against any group of quest creatures or boss, including the Overlord in his current region. The character must take a challenge action against any group of independent blue creatures in his region, and independent creatures are blue. Town action. Character may take a town action to do any or all of the following in any order. Regain any combination of energy and health tokens equal to his level. Purchase 1 or more eligible power cards from his class deck. And C. Sell items from the merchant deck. There's travel action. Character may take a travel action to move up to 2 adjacent regions. Game board. Character may move from one region containing a friendly flight path icon to another such region using one of these movement steps. And then there's training action. The character may take a training action to immediately purchase 1 or more eligible power cards from his class deck, placing any such cards underneath his spellbook token. So the Horde characters go first, and they each do 2 actions. And they can either have one do both actions, or they can take turns. One doesn't have to do all sections first. But Wendy Bloodsinger will go. And she's in a town. And in a town she could buy merchant items or regain energy or health tokens or purchase power cards. And also with the training action, she can purchase power cards. So just use the town actions to do that. And then she goes to her class deck. So the power card she'll get is Shadow Word Pain. Costs 3 gold pieces. You have to be a level 1 to use it, and she costs 1 energy to use it. With it, you add 1 blue dice to your dice pool. If you use Shadow Word Pain during the previous combat round, instead add 2 to your dice pool. That's good. And this shows it's an instant power, and the energy cost of an instant power is paid when the power is used. And when you purchase power cards with either the town or training action, you put them under your spellbook. And she has 1 more action. And she's got this quest up here she can do, so she'll move up. She can move 2 spots, but she'll just move 1 to go here. Then the next turn she'll work on that quest. Then Groombaw's Crow's Blood goes. I'd like to see if you can buy something in the merchants, because you can do a town action to do that. There's an item here that you can get for 5. He has to be a level 5 for that, level 3, level 2. Level 2 for that. Can be a level 1 for the Scroll of Lesser Strength, but it costs 7 gold and he only has 5, so he can't buy anything from the merchant. So he'll buy a power card as well. So he'll choose the card from his class card deck. And you'll go with the power card Heroic Strike. You add 1 red dice to your dice pool and gain reroll plus 1. It's level 1, costs 3, needs 2 energy. So he'll pay for that. Then he'll put it under his spellbook. It's interesting that a fighter has a spellbook, but I'm sure they have less spells than others. And then he'll move. He can move 2. He'll head over here to Death Knell to work on that quest next time. He can move 2. Since both of the Horde characters have gone, then they do the character management section where they can either equip or unequip their character sheets. And equipping means taking from your bag or your spellbook and placing those items on your card, and unequipping means taking items off of your character sheet and putting them into your bag or your spellbook. So when you Bloodsinger will take her spell, and it has to match with the type and trait, and this is instant power, which matches with that type. Item cards also have a trait that also has to match. So she'll place that there, and then Groomba's Crow's Blood will take his. And place it up here, and now they're equipped with those power cards. And after the Horde's faction turn is completed, and you've completed the administrative, and you've completed the character management, move it up to the next turn. Indicator here, a triangle item. So you draw from the item deck, you draw a triangle item card, and you add it to the merchant deck. This is a good one because it's a level 1, only takes 3 gold pieces, doesn't require energy. You add a blue die to your dice pool and reroll +1. So maybe someone will want to purchase that from the merchant. Then the alliance goes. Sandre Darkshine. And 2, she's going to use a town action to take from her class deck the power card of Shadowbolt. And then also Bourbon Fang will do a town action to get Scorpid Sting. And Sandre's Shadowbolt costs 3, and you add a blue dice to your dice pool. Instead of your reroll spot, put a blue with a 8 to gain reroll +2, and then Bourbon's Scorpid Sting costs 2, and you add 1 blue die to your dice pool. And they pay for those items for their gold with their gold, and put the power cards in their respective spell books. And they each have one more action. Sandre will travel. They don't have too many quests going on where they are, so they'll have to travel a bit. If they could fly. If they go on an alliance flight path here, then they can take 1 movement point to go there. And that's what she'll do. She'll take 1 movement, go to Airy Peak, and then move 1 more, and then next time she'll be able to move in there. And he'll go up to this area. He could move 1 more if he wanted to, but since this isn't a blue creature, if it's an independent creature which is blue, he'd have to stop here, but since it's not, he could have kept going, but he wants to do this quest, so he'll stop here. So when they do their character management, they'll both take their power cards from under their spell book, place them in the spots they can put them. So now they'll be active, and that completes that faction turn. Then we go back to the Horde. So the Horde faction, Grumbaz will go with his first action. He'd kind of like to go over here and help out his acquaintance in the Horde, but he can't quite make it there. He thinks she's probably bitten off more than she can chew there, but he can only move 2, so he can't quite get there. So he'll attack this quest creature, and that action is a challenge action. So there's 2 different kinds of combat. There's character versus monster and character versus character. This case is character versus monster. For creature combat, which this is up here, You do attack phase, which is the dice pool step, reroll step, and then place token step. Then the defense phase, which is range strike step, damage step, and resolution step. So first of all, the dice pool step. Consults what he has here. So active powers, their energy cost is paid when the power is equipped during the character management step, so that doesn't cost you anything. Heroic Strike, though, costs 2 energy, and he only has 1 energy at the moment. And he has to use that when he does his instant power. He's got a charge. At the start of your dice pool step, you gain 1 energy, which is nice. And then Rusty Sword costs 0 energy and add a red to your dice pool. So he can use the stance, so he gets one red dice for that. He's doing charge, which doesn't cost him energy because it was active power he has. And at the start of the dice pool he gains 1 energy, so that's handy. Puts that here. And then since he now has 2 energy, he can do Heroic Strike because that costs 2 energy. Just remove that energy. Allows him to add a red die to his dice pool. Now he's got 2. And he has a Rusty Sword, so he has another red die to his dice pool. Then he also has Slork Skin, which is male. Adds a green dice to your die pool. So that's what he has, and then he rolls the dice. Gets a +1 reroll, so we'll reroll the red 2. Nice, gives a 6. Each value you roll that is equal to or higher than the monster's threat level is a hit. So he's got 2 red hits. Since the ghoul's threat level, so its threat level is 6. And if you hit with a blue dice, you put the hit token in the damage box of the combat area. So here, if you hit with a red dice, put a hit token in the defense box of the combat area. And if you hit with a green dice, place an armor token in the defense box of the combat area. Here. So with the 2 red hits, he puts 2 hit tokens in a damage box. And with his Blood Fury, he does have 1 attrition, so he puts 1 attrition. So he puts 1 hit in the attrition area. It's interesting that the combat's kind of streamlined so the monster doesn't roll, but he goes by these values. So the threat is what the player would need to roll to hit him. Attack is what he needs to roll to hit the character. Then health is how much damage he can take. So since it's a green quest creature, the threat is 6, attack value is 3, and health is 2. So in the range strike step, you look at the hits and the damage, and if that equals or exceeds the health of the creature is destroyed. And its health is only 2, so he's removed. So that was successful. And since he was defeated in the range strike, you don't need to go on to the damage step or the resolution step. He's completed this quest. And the quest was the Scourge of Ghouls. He defeated the green quest creature here, and it also spawned a blue one over here, but he doesn't have to defeat the blue independent one to complete his quest. The reward is get 6 gold, 4 experience, triangle item, nice. Gets 4 experience, and then he gets to draw. Then he gets to gain a triangle item, and the symbol in there indicates how many cards you draw. And then from that number of cards, which in this case is 2, you choose one. So he's got the 2 choices. You either get a minor healing potion, which is level 1, or scimitar, which is level 2, which gives him 2 dice to his dice pool, and he can re-roll 1. He'll choose to take that. And that item, even though it's level 2, will be useful to him because since he got 4 experience points, move up the experience point track, and now he's level 2. So he'll be able to use a scimitar. Then you discard this quest. Since he's level 2 now, he moves up to level 2 in terms of his health and energy. He immediately gets all the health and energy max shown there, so now he's back up to 2 energy. And he's up to 6 health. Places his scimitar, and then since he increased a level, he gets to draw a talent card from his class cards, and he chooses cruelty, so put that here, which is level 2. At the end of your reroll step, change the result of up to 2 separate red die so that each die's new value is 1 number higher. Maximum of 8. Nice. So that's very successful. Then he's got 1 more action, and he'll do a movement action and go back to Brill. That's the end of his actions. And then the other Horde member, Wayno Bloodsinger, will go with her 2 actions. So she thinks she's a little bit overmatched here, but she can't leave because she has to fight the independent monster before she can leave there. And she has to fight the independent monster before she can fight the green quest monster, so she'll do that. First, the dice step. For Shadow Word Pain, add a blue dice to your dice pool. It's used before she gets 2, but she didn't, so she gets 1. And that is an instant power that requires 1 energy, so she'll have to expend 1 energy. And she does have regeneration that she could have used at the start of her turn, but she didn't have any damage, so she didn't have to do that. But that's nice to have if she has damage. I'll see her wand. Add another blue die to your dice pool. And at the end of the dice pool, after everything's rolled, if you spot an 8 on either a red or blue die, to roll yet an additional blue die. Choose just 1. It's got a heavy mace. Add a red to your dice pool. Cloth. At the end of your reroll step, you may change 1 red or blue dice that's 3+ into an 8 green dice, which is nice. Then you roll the dice. Not too bad. As far as the rerolls, if she got an 8, she could have rerolled one of them, but she didn't. And she can change from her frayed robe cloth. She can change 1 red or blue that's a 3+ into an 8 green. She'll do that. She'll change the blue dice because she wants to keep the red attack dice. So she'll change that out. Then do tokens. She's attacking a blue gnoll, and its threat level is 5, attack is 4, health is 4. And any rolls above the threat level is a hit. Any rolls above or equal to the threat score is a hit, and all 3 of these hit. Since that's a 5, and she got a 6, 7, and 8. For each blue dice hit, you put 1 in damage. For each red, you put it in the defense. And for each green hit, you put an armor in the defense. And she doesn't have any attrition, so she won't put it in the attrition box. Then you do the range strike step, where if the damage markers in the damage, if the tokens if the hits in the damage section here are equal to or greater than the monster's health, the monster is destroyed. And for a blue gnoll, the health is 4 and it's only 1, so he's not destroyed. So I'm going to go with the next step. Then for the damage step, you look at the monster's attack value, which the blue gnoll is 4, and then you compare that to the total number of tokens in the defense area of both shield and hits. There's 2 there. You take the difference, 4 minus 2 being 2, and you take the character, it takes that many hits. Which is not cool because we knew Bloodswinger just got down to 0. She did in fact bite off more than she could chew. Now in the combat resolution step, first you take off all the armor tokens, just take them off the board. Take all the armor tokens out of the defense area and just remove them. Take all the tokens from take all the hit tokens from the defense area, put them in the damage area. Move all from the attrition to damage, and there's none there, so we're at 2 in the damage. And then if this value exceeds the health of the monster you're fighting, that monster is defeated and you remove them. Otherwise, the monster is still alive, and you just keep the damage points there to carry over to the next combat round. So the good news is Ueno has a regeneration, which allows her to gain 1 health, which is generally start the faction turn. But when a character goes down, they're allowed to use whatever ability they have to regain that hit point. And so she will use that, and she'll come back up, and she'll regain 1 hit point. So she's able to continue to the next combat round, and she won't. And her next action, again, she's got 1 more action remaining this turn, will have to be to attack the blue gnoll. So she'll go through that process again. Gives you a sense of the play in that turn. Character versus monster is the most common combat, but there's also player versus player, and it generally follows the same type of sequence, except how you handle the threat value is different, and then also each of the players go through the defense phase, and then when the alliance faction goes in their turn, it moves up to this, and you draw an event card to travel to a location and defeat a boss. For the Overlord in this game, which is Nefarian, when you draw an event card, The active faction has to move him a number of regions equal to the fate number. And the event card is the Carius of the Many boss. Travel to Skulk Rock and defeat the Great Spider Mistress to threat the attack on a health level. At the end of each combat round in which Decorus is not defeated, each participating character receives 1 stun token and removes 3 hit tokens from the damage box. For the stronger faction, the reward is 10 gold, 6 experience, and some items. Weaker faction, reward of 12 gold, 10 experience, and a couple items. And for the Overlord Nefarian, who's the threat in this game, every time an event card is drawn, the active faction must move him a number of regions equal to the fate number on the event card. And this is the fate number, so he would move 1. And since the coming up turn is for the Alliance, I assume they're the active player. And they'll just kind of move them generally this direction. Hopefully that gives you a little sense of the play. So that's World of Warcraft, the board game from Fantasy Flight Games from 2005. It's an excellent game. Fantasy Flight game usually does a great job with components, and this is no different. Components are great, especially for the time. I mean, the miniatures, by today's standards, are maybe not quite as complex, but they're fine, and it makes sense that they have different, the different colors instead of being all gray ones you can paint, because there's a functional difference between the blue, red, and green. And it's fairly straightforward. A lot of all sorts of replayability because of all the variations in items, different characters you could choose, whether you join the Horde or Alliance. Different events, strategy as far as moving around the board and seeing what quests you're going to take. Definitely give it a high score. The only thing, and it's fairly straightforward. I mean, I like how you build up your character with the different items you catalog, and you move up in levels, managing your energy and health and gold, and then buying items and kind of stocking up. One thing holding it back maybe from a 10 is I kind of wish the quests involved more than just defeating monsters, which is fine. I mean, there's a lot of variation which ones you're attacking. It does give you some flavor text, but it comes down to if you defeat the monsters or not. And I don't know what else the quest would be. Maybe like solving riddles or something. Or if there was something where you like used charisma to achieve an outcome or something like that would be interesting. But other than that, it's great. It does, I think, exactly what it intends to do, and definitely glad to have it. If you get a hold of it at a reasonable price, definitely suggest it. I don't know that I got mine at a super reasonable price, but it is hard to find out there. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Thanks a lot.